Welcome aboard. Skylark Outdoors here, and today we are reviewing the Monterey 255 and taking a tour, which we've got right here. This one's outfitted with a 300 horsepower V8 Mercury, and you've got your ski, wakeboard, tubing pole right here in the back, and then you've got this day bed. And what I like about this day bed is that you can fold that seat back either forwards or back, so you can have it facing to the rear if you want to lay out at anchor, or you can turn it around if you want that as a seat to sit on while you are on the boat. Now, another feature I like about this is it does have a really large swim platform here in the back, just a nice layout overall. You've got that bench seating that's like an L. You've got a little table there for some drinks, snacks, whatever. You've got another seat behind the captain's chair, and then you've got the captain's chair and a passenger chair, and that chair actually folds forward as well, so you could use that as a layback seat. Now, what I like about the captain's chair is it's big enough for one and a half, maybe two people, but nice and wide there, so you're going to be very comfortable. You've got your controls right there on the right, the throttle controls, and all kinds of electronical switches. Comes with a radio, speakers you can see laid out everywhere. You do have a compass on this. You've got your windscreen or windshield there, and then you've got your controls as well and gauges right next to the key. Now, what's unique about this boat is that at 25 feet, it does have a head right here, and you also have a little storage in front of that panel. So you've got a head for when nature calls out on the water or when you've got an emergency. It's nice that you have that option, and there's a little sink in there as well. And then there's some storage on the front of that head door as well. So you can put like your cell phone in there, manuals, whatever you need. And then as we go to the bow of the boat here, you can see we've got space for two people to kind of lay out, but you could probably fit 2 to 4 people up here in the front, some speakers. And then this is nice because once you open this up, we actually have a ladder in the front in that anchor storage locker, so you can store your anchor there, but then you also have a front entry. If you want to jump off the front of the boat and get back on, you can do that. And as you look to the rearward, you can see we've got this canvas that folds up or down, and that canvas is nice so that you get a little bit of but also you are going to have the option there with this canvas to store it in something like a garage. You're going to be under that height requirement typically, whereas you can see these other Monterey boats, they've got a hard top. Now, a lot of those hard tops fold down, but with a canvas, this thing's going to be really easy to with. Just basically undo some pins and straps, and you are ready to trailer and tow this thing, as well as park it in your garage. Here we get another view of the rear of the boat. You can see that seat back. You can fold that back, so you got a nice bench seat there. And then you can also see the swim platform. It is a really wide and long swim platform for an outdoor boat or an outboard boat. So you've got plenty of space there to be able to stand on it. And we're just looking at the one next to it because it's basically the same thing. And you can see that swim platform there. But we've got a couple of speakers here in the rear of this boat, as well as we've got plenty of power on this size boat with 300 horsepower. So you can see that swim platform right there. Now, as we look at this boat, even though it's listed as 25 feet and 8 inches overall, that is the length without the outboards on there. With the outboard on there, it is 28 feet 8 inches. Some of the other specifications here are you have an 8'6" beam, you've got 65 gallons of fuel capacity. You have 350 horsepower max rating for this. So even though this one has 300 horsepower on it, you could put a 350 on there, which really is going to give it some go. You've got a depth sounder, low water alarm on this standard. You also have a 20-degree dead rise on this boat, a 16-inch draft, so a very shallow drafting boat for this size. And it weighs 5,500 pounds with the engine. So this is a fairly light boat. And then let's say you get a trailer. There are some SUVs that would be capable of towing this boat on the trailer if you had it dry with no fuel in there, because at 5,500 pounds, that's pretty light for a boat this size. Now with a truck, you're going to be able to pull this no problem. But what I like about this is that it is rated for 15 people. So you can fit a lot of people on this boat, take them out on the lake, have a good time. You also could just have a few people out there, but for those days when you want to have 15 people, that's actually really incredible that on a 25-foot 8-inch boat or 28-foot 8 inches with the engines that you can fit 15 people for your day out on the water, and it's got a total capacity of 3,432 pounds, so you can have a lot of people out there. So shallow drafting at 16 inches, 5,500 pounds with the engines, and then you can fit 15 people. I think those are the main selling points of this, as well as it's going to have probably a pretty good power to weight ratio with 350 horsepower if you go with the max engine size at 5,500 pounds. This is I would say, a lake boat that can handle maybe a little bit rougher conditions than some others just by what you're getting with the hull length and the dead rise on this boat. But you've got that water sports pole in the back, which I think is a really nice feature. You've got the head, so when people need to use it in emergency, you do have that. On this size boat, you're not always going to see that. And then you've got an overall nice layout to just accommodate a lot of people. So if you've got a lot of people that you want to take out on the water or a large family, but you also want to go water skiing, you want to go wakeboarding, you want to go tubing, this is the perfect boat for that because you can accommodate up to 15 people while still enjoying water sports, and I think that's a really nice feature. Now, another thing that I like about this is traditionally a boat like this, probably 10 years ago, would have been an inboard boat, but this comes with outboard engines, and I think that's the way to go for this boat. You're going to have much easier maintenance, and typically you're going to have a longer season. So the main advantages of the outboard are, let's say you wanted to take this, let's say you live in the Midwest or something like that. You're going to be able to extend your season because winterizing an outboard is pretty much just draining out the water of the engine. So at the beginning of the season, you're going to be ready to go with this. And at the end of the season, you don't have to worry so much about water getting in the engine. You want to make sure, obviously, that you don't have water in your gear oil or anything like that. But on those days at the end of the season, October, where it maybe dips down a little bit cooler, or maybe for you it's November, depending on where you're at, where it dips down a little bit cooler into the 30s for a night or two, you don't have to worry about it as much, or something freezing where you would with an inboard, where you could burst those freeze plugs or break the block if you get that cold water and it turns the ice and expands. And when you winterize those, you typically are running antifreeze through them, where this, you just need to make sure that it drains out, blow it out, and you are good to go. So you get potentially a longer season both in the spring, where you may have cold temperatures, and in the end of the year in fall. The other advantage is that if you want to take this from wherever you say that is an inland waterway and you want to take it out on the ocean, you absolutely could do that. So if you've got maybe a place on the intercoastal, or you've got somewhere where you are in freshwater and you want to take it out on saltwater, you could actually trailer this boat no problem, especially with the 8-foot 6 beam. It's pretty easy to trailer, and overall length and weight pretty easy to trailer. You could take this down to your vacation along the coast and take it out on the ocean, as long as you pick your days and were careful and considered that. And then you've got an easy way to flush this out because it's an outboard. You don't have all that salt water in your engine, salt water in the bilge, and all that kind of stuff that's really just going to wreck over the long term. With this, you take it out, you flush the engine and the outboard, no problem, and you are ready to go. Flush that salt water out, and all your components and everything aren't going to degrade like you would potentially with an inboard. The other advantage of it is just typically easier to maintain over the long term and lower maintenance costs. If you have ever worked in a boat of this size, it's really bad, I would say, in the under 40-foot range, like 25 to 40-foot range. It just is difficult how they have to fit inboard engines, drives, all the other stuff, generators into the boat. And if you ever had to work in one of those and change a starter, most of the time they're incredibly hard to access, incredibly hard to get to. Sometimes you have to pull the engine out to change even a starter. And it's just like you got to bend every which way to work there. Where this, everything with the engine is located on the rear of the boat, very easy to maintain. Pull this thing up on the trailer, they're going to be able to work on it. If they have to take off the engine, which would be rare, they could easily do that. And if you did have ultimately something that was an engine failure, not that big of a deal because you just power this thing and you don't have to go through all the headaches of everything else. You could just repower this with a similar unit, all your controls and everything, and you should be good to go with this. So over the long term, and you would still have technically a nice haul with it. Where with an inboard, a lot of the value and everything is wrapped up in that engine. Because of the labor cost to do something like that, you end up spending a lot of money where sometimes the boat might be scrapped at that point. By the time you're looking at a new engine and drives and the depreciation on a boat that is inboard. The inboard boats tend to hold their value not as well as an outboard boat, just in general. And that's because of the ease of maintenance, the cost of maintenance on an outboard, as well as the ease of repowering if you have to, right? And there's just a lot of things that I like about having an outboard on a boat this size, and I think that's the way that more and more manufacturers are going because of the ease of maintaining it, the flexibility it gives you to be in saltwater or freshwater, as well as the winterization process. There's less that can go wrong with an outboard in general if someone is not as educated on how to maintain it than on with an inboard. If you let an inboard freeze, you have big problems. And because of the cost of maintenance or people just being intimidated by going down an engine bay, it seems like things don't get maintained as often as they should versus an outboard where it's just so much easier to work on. They are seemingly, because of not being in weird positions trying to work on them, they tend to seem to get maintained longer and also hold their value longer. So thanks for watching this review of the Monterey 25.5 or 25.5, yeah, 255 boat. We hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, please subscribe, give us that thumbs up. And if you want to support us, check down in the description. We've got all kinds of courses that will help make you a better boater, but also just different things related to the outdoors that you may be interested in. So check out some of those videos, check out some of those links, and I do appreciate you watching this and supporting the channel. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.